Oh, Haley Steinfeld on Magic in the Morning and Most Girls. I think I said yesterday I was getting ready to sign up when we played that. I don't want to be like most girls. Mike Barrett with us now from Barrett Insurance Agency. What else she goes on about? I want to be like most. Anyways.
I like the one that I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. That's more me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not sorry.
Demi, right?
Not sorry at all.
So if it was a little bit earlier on, you'd be blinded right now. You got the sun completely on you here. You've got the best seat in the house.
I do. I like this.
Good to have you in here on this spring morning. Mike joins us. We talk good policies, and it's basically you just use a great terminology there. It's Insurance 101 for people out there because there are questions that, the people may or may not be afraid to ask, don't know to ask, and that's why we do this.
Right, right. And let's be honest, there's a lot of information out there. A lot of it could be considered misinformation when, consider it the telephone game where you're talking to John and John says, did you hear about Daryl? Really, what happened to Daryl? Well, this happened to Daryl. And then, it just goes on and on and on and on. So what we try to do is at least help set a little bit of a foundation so you have an understanding of what's out there and what it's all about.
Well, last week we talked about how deductibles can really one, be confusing, but, change the way that an individual addresses their insurance.
Sure.
This week, though, you ever heard the term? I'm asking an insurance agent this. Have you ever heard the term bundling?
Yeah, we don't call it that, but yes.
Okay, what do you guys
That's so funny. Bundling is a very well-marketed term by a specific company, Progressive, whom we represent, so I feel comfortable saying that.
Okay.
But bundling is not necessarily a term that we've often used, but bundling is the marketing term for having your home and your auto insurance policy with the same carrier.
Okay.
All right. Oh, bundle your home and auto, bundle your motorcycle, ATV, and you can bundle a lot of things. We call it packaging. A lot of companies have always, often used package as the term. But no matter what you call it, what is it? All right. Well, we've talked in the past, and you gave this example when we were kind of having a little pre-conversation here if you have an auto insurance policy and you have a renter's insurance policy, we've talked about what you can see for savings on your auto policy just by adding an additional policy with the same company. Bundling or packaging can really be a beneficial step in terms of getting a multi-policy credit on your home and then a multi-policy credit on your auto. They're still separate policies with most companies. There are a few companies that will give you this policy on one policy where you have the two functioning as one. There's still separate forms and all that, but that's another day, I suppose. But is it always beneficial to bundle?
I don't know. That's why I asked you.
That's a good thing to think about. So it's not. It's not, because let's think of it this way. When you're out there quoting your home and auto, and you're looking at the options of having both with the same carrier, let's look at the rate of the same carrier and saying, well, here's what, X company is, whom you have your home with. Here's what it prices out as because you have both of them together. Oh, by the way, you might see your homeowner go up by $40 a year if you're not with that company for your auto insurance. And maybe here's another company for your auto insurance significantly cheaper. We do that a lot. We have a lot of folks who are not with the same company, and it's not because we haven't tried. We certainly want to give them the opportunity to have the bundling protection, but there's no benefit coverage-wise of doing so. One, maybe. Let's say you're backing out of your garage and you hit your garage.
Okay.
The damage to your car is paid by your auto policy, and the damage to your garage is paid by your homeowner policy. So if you're with the same company, they're not going to bicker amongst themselves. They're just going to pay it. But if you have two separate companies, one, there's always that little room for two companies to kind of butt heads, but it's a pretty clear understanding of how to pay it out. So it's not going to be a big deal. So it's worth looking and seeing. I have clients who maybe I've quoted them with a company that they have their home with, and I go, well, here's the price, but for $700 less a year, you can be with these guys for the same coverage.
Right,
so it's worth looking.
I'm going to go back and I'm going to try to relate this to last week's conversation where we were talking about deductibles, okay?
Sure.
So let's say Joe and Joan Williams, okay?
Good people, by the way. So I had lunch with them yesterday.
Wow,
Nice,
you know them. I made it up. Okay, so they've got a house and both their cars, and they're on the same company. Oh, no, wait, let's reverse this. Not on the same company, okay? Auto insurance, one carrier, home insurance, another carrier.
Sure.
All right, now, we talked about how if we added renter's insurance, it would make things cheaper, which would make it more affordable for
overall to have the combined,
to have a better coverage. Can that work out the same way if Joe and Joan switch and say they could only afford the $500 deductible as opposed to the $1,000 deductible. See where I'm going?
Yeah. So you can look at all the options and use the deductible choices and the other options to maybe shave down the price, make it a really attractive opportunity for them to switch. So yes, you can play with that a lot. One thing I thought would be a good idea, two things I want to hit on real quick. Multi-policy discounts. It's funny because a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I go, I promise I'm not making this up. This is really how this works, multi-car discounts and all that. It all sounds like somebody in the back room was just going, this sounds like a great idea,
It's a great marketing plan.
But if you have multiple policies like an ATV or a boat or an RV with a same company, they give you multi-policy discounts too. Multi-policy discounts can vary in percentages of savings, anywhere from 5%. I guess some companies will give you up to 15% savings on one or both policies. So it is attractive. Now, here's a question for you. Can you have two auto policies?
If Joe has a car and Joan has a car, yes. But
No.
I'm getting that. Okay.
You shouldn't. All right.
Okay.
You really shouldn't. I don't know that there's a legal statute that says you can't. I will tell you this. Companies don't want you to. In fact, if I come to a company and say, well, John and Joan, right? Is that their names?
Yeah.
We're talking? Okay.
You
we're
had lunch with them.
Mr. and Mrs. Williams. Yeah, but I call them Mr. and Mrs. Williams often. But so John has an auto policy. He gets married to Joan. Joan has an auto policy. Under the definitions of who is insured on an auto policy, spouses,
Right, okay, I see.
dependents, children, household members who are dependents are by definition considered insureds. So the example I'll give is that maybe John and Joan have a 16-year-old, Jared. They're a big J family. They love the J's.
Like mine.
Big fan of the Jays. John, Joan, and Jared. So John says, you know what? Too expensive to add Jared to my policy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get another policy in my name, and I'll put Jared on that. I see that a lot.
Okay.
Boy, that's not a good thing to do. Companies don't like it. It's considered misrepresentation because you have two policies now in your name.
Right.
So let's say you have $500,000 liability limit on your policy. In Vermont, in most states, by the way, you can stack policies. So now Jared is cruising along, gets in this horrible accident. We're really sad and praying, and thoughts and prayers are with Jared. And the injuries sustained by the people with him are pretty significant. Now the lawyers are going to come in and go, oh, there are two auto policies at play. So we're going to go for the maximum limit on this auto policy of $500,000, as well as the maximum limit on this policy of $500,000. So now there's $1 million and two companies are paying out, and both companies are going, wait a minute, what's going on here? Because it's really not supposed to be done that way. I've talked to many companies and said, look, is this allowed with you guys? And, the underwriting guidelines are pretty clear, but I always call and just double check. And boy, from everybody I've talked to, it's just not allowed, especially if it's your first time coming in. So don't try to get a multi-policy discount by having two auto policies.
All right. So
Now, this does vary from some companies like the State Farms, the Horace Manns, and a few others out there who actually do issue a new policy for every vehicle you have. But that's how they do it. And it's tied in together. So it really essentially is one policy, but it's different policies for each vehicle. So it does vary company to company. Again, this little one-on-one discussion we have is just the general. So.
Well, and I'm glad you threw in that last little tangent there because, as we say, as we get close to wrapping it up, this is why you have the conversation.
Exactly. And, you're going to learn something. You don't have to memorize it. I often tell people there's not a test at the end, but let's just go over the fine points here so you know what you have and you know what your options are.
And once you've made that decision, you don't have to remember it because you've got the cheat sheet, you've got the legal forms, and you're covered.
Yeah. And the cheat sheet being us.
Exactly.
You can call us anytime.
All right. It's Good Policies on Magic in the Morning.
Give us a call, 748-5224. Visit our office, Portland Street in St. Johnsbury. Online, thebarrettagency.com. Google, Facebook, and YouTube is all Barrett Insurance Agency.
All right. We'll get this sent off to you so you can post it up for folks that might have come in halfway through.
Absolutely. Like myself.
Headed to Easter weekend, Magic in the Morning rolls on music from Hey Violet.